Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Vijay Shankar, and I'm a salesperson, I'm a sales consultant, and now an entrepreneur as well. So today we are going to go through a session that would actually talk about the preparation strategies and tactics before you get into a sales call, right? So what is the objective here? So I'm looking at like giving you these inputs to enable you or your salesperson to be well prepared for a sales call. So when I say sales call, it's like it could be like right from a first level pitch or a later level discussion where you present a product or a service, or when you present a proposal. So it could be any stage of the sales cycle. I'm just giving you generic tips and strategies here, which will help you prepare for each of your sales calls better, right? So why should you prepare, right? The question why should you prepare is that like it shows the professionalism in you, the suave in you, where like when a prospect hears more about himself and knows that you spend time knowing more about him, and then like letting him know that you are like you are aware of like what is happening at his end, it itself gives you a very big advantage in terms of how you're able to position your services, right? And it also shows genuine interest, right? Imagine like someone trying to sell you, and he comes and just talks about himself, and like he doesn't know anything about you or your company, doesn't give a very good picture, right? So if you're well prepared, it shows that you're genuinely interested and you win over that conversation, right? So the different things that I'm going to talk about in this session is like the various gamuts of like the preparation, right? The first is the research that you need to do, and then the essentials that you need to be ready with, and then your pitch. How do you put your pitch right? Prepare your pitch, and the questions. How do you prepare the right questions to ask and to answer? And the overall execution of that particular meeting or call that you will be engaged in, right? So we'll move on to the first part, which is the research, right? So you should do research about the company, right? Why should you know about the company, the prospect's company? It's very important because you should know whom you're selling to. When I say whom, like both the person that you're engaging with and the company that you're selling to, right? So when I say company, what are the different things that you need to know or you need to research about? First is the company revenue, the size, the teams, the different people in that company. So this gives you an advantage of knowing who we are dealing with, right? What is the size? Like your entire strategy or positioning could should differ based on whether it is a large enterprise or a medium company or an SME, right? And also the various the factors in terms of the size, the people, and all that. And also you should research about the industry or the market trends, right? Say your prospect company is in say the insurance industry or the travel industry. So current trends of the travel industry, you know, like things are not going well, and like so you should know about the industry and their competition. Like if you are pitching to a particular say HDFC insurance, you should know who are their competitors, right? So that like you are able to kind of position your product accordingly. Even like, you know, if you've been already talking to their competition, or if you've already sold to their competition, you can use that. So important to know that. And then you should know about the key decision makers and influencers in that company. Say you may be talking to one particular person or just like one or two people in that company, but you should know who are the other key players in the company, right? So that like when someone claims that, okay, let me sign the deal, you know he is not going to, right? He can't. So you need to be prepared for that. And then the company, you need to go through the company website in detail, right? You understand what is their mission, what is their objectives, their news items, like you will see the company journey, history. This will give you a lot of inputs in terms of like how do you tailor your positioning better to align with the missions and objectives of the company. And then find about the company through Google search. Like find if they're a new company, find if they've been funded, like what amount of fund has been received and what are they going to spend that funds on, and look at like what are the different projects or what are the different activities they're doing. And you can even go through the blogs of that company to understand like where they stand, what kind of things they're doing. So this will give you again like a very good perspective in terms of how to position your and if you might actually find requirements coming out of this exercise, right? So somewhere they could have actually mentioned like they're looking at like say they want to enhance their entire manufacturing process or their the project development process. So you will find that, and you know your service can fit in that particular requirement, and you go pitch, right? So it's very important to do this. And second thing is about your stakeholders, the person that you're talking to, right? So first you need to understand where all he is present socially, right? When I say social presence, it's more about like a lot of people are active on like platforms like LinkedIn, Quora, and a lot of other technical forums where they participate, they write posts, articles, blogs. So you go through that, like you will know the kind of person that you are talking to, you know what his inclinations are, and even in this activity you might unearth actual requirements, right? And also find out about his stature in the company. Like the LinkedIn profile itself gives you like his title and like what he does, his role, right? So there you will understand like to what extent he can actually influence or make this deal for you. And then his interest in activities. Of course, this is like beyond the professional side, like even if you are able to understand, like if it is a key account for you and like you need this person to come on your side, you need to influence him really well. So you need to understand his interests, activities, which are on LinkedIn, his articles, or even Facebook for that matter. Sometimes you get to view certain posts. It could be like a social cause that he is talking about. It could be a sport interest that he is talking about. Knowing him better makes you more comfortable in having a meaningful conversation with that person, which interests him genuinely. Okay? So that's about the research part. So distinctively, like the company and the stakeholder, you need to know in and out. And then moving on to certain essentials, right? So the essentials are certain things that you need to keep readily available for that particular meeting or a call or a session, right? So what are they? So first is the case studies, right? All of you know, or for those who have not actually used case studies, these are actually certain documents that talk about how your solution has been implemented in a customer's place, what problem did it solve, and what were the benefits or the outcomes of that problem, right? This is a typical structure of a case study. So keep a lot of these case studies handy. And if you're talking to, say, an insurance company, keep all the relevant insurance case studies handy, right? And showcase them during your presentation or the call. And you need to also have your competition info, your product data sheets, your product videos, all that handy, right? So this will extend credibility. See, the moment they talk about a particular competition, you're able to give them those right points of the competition right then and there. it gives a lot of credibility, right? Similarly, like anything that he asks about your product or service, you should have the answers for that then and there, right? And then use cases. Use cases are somewhat similar to case studies, but they need not be applicable to any particular customer, right? So you talk about like a general use case, like this is a product, the feature of a particular product, and this can be applied to this kind of a problem, and this is what it will result in, right? This is the benefit that it will give. So we call it use cases, right? So this is similar to case studies, but not referring to a particular customer. So keep all use cases as well in place. And then finally, the customized presentation deck, right? If you're using a pitch deck, if you're using a solution presentation, whatever, whenever you are showing a presentation to the prospect, then you should definitely customize it to that particular prospect and his company. Put his company logo, put some news articles that you've seen about that company. Put the, if required, you can even put the prospect's profile, right? So that like it becomes very relevant. He knows that you have actually spent time, you're genuinely interested, you are serious about the whole thing. So this is what it establishes, right? So moving on to the next part, which is the pitch, right? So most of the salespeople have the successful salespeople, right? They have custom pitches, right? When I say custom pitch, it is all about like perfecting your message or your pitch and making it relevant to that particular company or the prospect that you're talking to, right? So if your product or a service, if you have a standard pitch, when I say pitch, like the way you convey what the product or the service does and what are the benefits. So if you do a standard one for every customer that you talk to, it doesn't work well, right? You need to customize it to a particular prospect. So as a part of your research, as a part of your preparation of the collaterals, you have done 50% of that. Even the pitch, right? So you need to review a pitch, and then you need to see if it talks about the benefits, what is in it for the customer, right? So you know you're talking to that particular insurance company, and you are offering this particular enterprise software to them, for example. You need to specifically call out as to what will that insurance company benefit out of your software, for example, right? So this is very, very important, like talking about the benefits. So again, like there is another topic that I can discuss for more time, which is like features, functionalities, advantages, and benefits. So a lot of salespeople confuse themselves with the progression on this. So when we talk about features, it is about like what your solution comprises of, like what are the features in your solution. Functionality, what that feature does, right? That is a functionality. Advantage is how this functionality is better than any other way of doing it, right? The benefit is what does it actually mean to the customer, right? What kind of gains does it provide to the customer? So that is the benefit. So your pitch, especially when initially when you're pitching, you give an overall idea about like what your product is, and then quickly move on to the benefits, right? Benefits is the way you actually connect with the prospects. So then he starts understanding, okay, this is what I get, right? So that's very important. And then does your pitch talk about the prospect's pain points, right? See, in a general sales adage, no pain, no gain, right? No pain, no sale. That's what we say. So when you're not able to identify a pain and talk about and address that pain as to how your product or service will address or solve his problem, if you're not doing that, then your sale is not going to go through smoothly, right? So ensure that like you get that right, you put that in your pitch, and You also have to have certain points in your pitch that says, why buy from you, right? Why not your competition, right? Why buy from you? Even those are certain points that you need to build it in your pitch. And check if your pitch is like clear, crisp, and concise. So clear is like the message, the points that you put across should be like pretty simple and straightforward, should be understandable immediately. Don't put jargons like this is a strategy, this is the functional piece, those kind of mincing of things don't do. And it should be crisp as well. Like don't give like long stories in your pitch. Make it to the point and concise. Right? That's a combination of these two. So that's about like how you should prepare your pitch. So, and prepare it, review, revise, and practice that pitch. Right? Since you're going to do this custom pitch, you should be able to practice it for every customer before you get onto the call. The next part is like questions. Right? So you should actually an effective sales call entails more questioning than talking, right? So this all of us we know. It is like you keep on talking about your product, your services, your advantages, your benefits. Doesn't really kind of like take you to the next step. So you should start placing questions that actually give a lot of thought in the product, in the prospect's mind. Like he starts thinking, okay, and your questions can also be leading. The questions need not be that like you always seek information. Your questions can also be used to reinforce certain things in his mind, right? So, okay, I kind of like digressed. So proper questioning is proper preparation, right? The more the prospect looks at the way you've prepared well, the more applicable it is for that particular sales call. So for example, you can say like, I read an article by your CIO about like the digital transformation in your company. He had put it on LinkedIn 3 weeks ago. So I'm just curious as to like, what are your plans on digital transformation? And so that way it gives a lot of relevance. He knows about the plans. His CIO has put the article and you are asking about it. So it strikes the chord. And second, the answer that he gives will help you in your subsequent positioning of your product or a service. Sorry. So what should be your questions based on, right? So either it could be like certain important things that they've mentioned to you in the past, right? Say if you're presenting a solution, like earlier you would have pitched and like you would have had some discussion, or he would have mentioned that, okay, there are certain things that are important to our company. So you can use that as a part of the questions. And you can also pose questions that are based on the industry trends, right? And thereby what boils down as a requirement for that particular company, right? For example, travel industry, is going through time. So you assume that like your prospect who's in the travel industry also is going through the tough time, and thereby like what their requirements could be. Like if they have to efficiently increase their sales, then you have a solution, right? Assuming this is the example. So you talk about that relevance and pose a question like, under these tough times, how are you planning to increase your sales? What are your different strategies in terms of like attracting more customers or retapping your existing customers, reaching out to them and positioning your services? These kind of questions. And also depending on the competitors, right? The competitors of your prospects who are already using your product or services. So you can ask certain questions based on that. Other important thing is also you should be able to anticipate what questions they might ask you during that call, right? It's you should kind of like make a mental note or preparation in terms of when you're going to position this, what kind of objections or questions might come up from their end, and be ready to answer those questions. So this is about questioning. Of course, like in this series, like we'll do another session in detail only about questioning, right? Questioning during various cycles of the various stages of the sales cycle. And then finally, we are talking about like the meeting execution, right? Where we have set up a sales call or a meeting, and then we need to ensure that like we are executing it professionally. You need to plan well and execute it professionally. So what you need to do is send out proper meeting invites, right? The meeting invite itself should be like crisp, and it should have an interesting agenda, right? Because many of the times, like you would have pitched to a person and like you would have invited him over for a demo session, and you would have sent an invite, but the person doesn't turn up for the demo. Most of you would have experienced that. So even the meeting invite, the demo invite, for example, should be like crisp, and it should have an agenda, like it should be a teaser for what he can look at, right? So we will showcase our product that will solve this problem of yours. That should be in the meeting invite, right? That message, so that he is interested and he is compelled to attend that meeting. And then prompt reminders, right? So you've sent a meeting invite, you've spoken to him last week, and you've set up a call for this week. You've sent him the invite, and you should obviously a day before you should remind him. It could be a gentle text or a WhatsApp message, or it could be an email, but a very, very polite and a less intrusive one. Don't bombard him with like multiple reminders. Just make it one or max 2 reminders. And then the mode of meeting, right? Especially in the remote sales process, what happens is you're not going to meet him. So you're going to set up a remote channel like a WebEx or a Microsoft Teams or a Zoom or a Google Hangout meetings. So ensure that your prospect knows what is the mode that you're using, and ensure that like you extend the credentials, ensure that he has downloaded that particular app or a software that he needs to for attending that meeting. Do all that. And also the participants, right? Ensure that like you're inviting even other participants from his side. Tell him like, say, good, thanks for accepting this meeting. So please ensure that like if you want anyone else from your end to be part of this meeting, bring them in, or you can give me their email IDs. I'll send out the invites, something like that. And also ensure who are the different people from your end that you need for the meeting, right? Plan it ahead. If you need a product expert, right? Or if you need your CEO to attend the call, or if you need one of your junior salespeople to be there on the call to make the minutes or anything. Plan everything and ensure that you've covered everyone in the invites and everyone is participating. So that's pretty much about the session today. So this is very, very important to do this preparation, like on the research, on the collaterals, the essentials, the pitch, the questions, and the right execution of the meeting. This will ensure that like you are progressing towards a closure. That's pretty much it.